you all enjoyed that time lapse there off the top of the video. I really enjoy doing those every now and again. But this time lapse actually ended in a little bit of some bad news. You can currently see I'm working a little bit on fixing up the Enderman spawner because it had been brought to my attention that that was a project that had, well, unfortunately been That was one of our main grind spots that unfortunately become compromised with the death of the Endermite that's used to bait in the Enderman. So I was going to fix it up and apparently ran into a little bit of some server lag because I was up on top of this section where the Endermite's supposed to be hanging out, or that platform that I had built up for him. And next thing I knew, I was down at the bottom of the void. Wasn't recording at the time, but I just have no idea what happened with that. So unfortunately, I'm finding myself kind of starting over and ramping up a bunch of the gear that I have and trying to get that back up. I just about have everything how I need it. Just a couple of odds and ends tools there. But thankfully, it's not a huge major setback. I was most upset about losing all of my armor and tools in addition to the shulker box full of ender pearls that I had. But those things do tend to kind of happen, which is unfortunate, but you can always bounce back from it. And at least it wasn't anything drastic like my wallet with all of my diamonds and stuff in it, which is always good to see. But with this area around the witch farm spawn-proofed with these bottom half slabs, all that's remaining is for me to set up that AFK platform, which will work quite nicely in terms of, well, getting the drops out of that farm. And it's already working somewhat well. It's just, you know, a matter of making sure that you continue to give it the attention that it needs in order to, well, actually be beneficial, which it should be. And that will prevent me from having to track down redstone when farming and other items as well. So that'll be good. We are very close to finally starting on the mega build project here of actually having a base, and I'm very optimistic about working that out once I have all of the resources on hand for it. I've decided I'm not really going to worry about interior furnishing before starting to build, and we'll just kind of work on that as needed, but I do want to make sure that it can be lit up correctly and spawn-proofed in that regard. But there were a couple of things that I had, you know, completely forgotten or neglected in some of our previous videos of updates that had happened. So I'd like to head over to spawn and just kind of showcase one of those items that I completely forgot to highlight in one of our previous episodes. So let's head over that way so you can be impressed by the work that's been put in by some of our fabulous server mates. So of course right here we have our spawn area with everything that we've highlighted over here, but there's one build that I had forgot to talk about, and that is right over here, the sub that's right there. And you can see the signs that kind of talk about it. There's made by Preacher, and the design itself does draw some inspiration from a separate builder. You can pause that if you want to read through those credits a little bit better. But just look at the design that went into this submarine build. It's kind of being occulted by some of the kelp, but I think that actually kind of helps with some of the mysticism that it has. Very long looking build. Looks like we've got some quartz or smooth quartz on the top here. We've got a bunch of red wool as the building block, and I can understand the use of the red wool as it being a lot easier to get than concrete powder and concrete, but I do think that it would be really cool to see either way. You've got some propellers back here that are made out of gold, and that's very fitting as well. And I would go inside, but I do not have permission from the creator to do so at this point in time, so maybe we'll have a look at that at a later point in time. Let's just knock this little piece of dirt out of the way, because that should not still be there based off of being a temporary block. And then you can see up here there are a couple of spots of other colored wool that provides some additional accents in addition to a couple of these nether fence posts up there and the sign that says do not enter without permission, and we will respect the wishes of the owner and steer clear unless told otherwise. But I did want to showcase that because I just think that's a super awesome project that's been worked on by him. Another big thing that I believe is going on this weekend is we're actually going to have an actual fight or some combat that's going to take place tomorrow evening here in the Coliseum. So I will try to be online and get a recording of that combat when indeed it does happen, as that will be a really cool thing to see there as well. But stay tuned for that in a future episode for a better highlight of that event. Still not sure what this build is. I'll ask around and see if we can figure out who it belongs to so I can give them some due credit. But that's a big chunk of what I wanted to discuss and talk about today. As a reminder, I've seen a couple of those applications coming through for new members of the server. Please feel free to submit those for the next little bit as well. I hope to review a good chunk of them tomorrow and get those responses sent back out. But until then, thanks again for letting me take a time and sample out of your day, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic rest of whatever you're doing today. We'll catch you in the next one. Take care, and bye-bye.